Hi everyone, my name is Vlad. As Lynn was saying, I'm a territory manager for APAC region for Revisto. So it's going to be me just quickly showing you a couple of slides of what Revisto is in the next minute or two, and then I'll, as quickly as possible, transfer to Luke, who's going to show you some real action. So Luke Johnson is our APAC implementation director, and he's going to actually do a live demo on the system and show you a few of the beneficial features of Revisto. So Revisto is what we like to call an integrated collaboration platform. Obviously, issue tracking is one of the things that you can do within the Revisto world, but ultimately Revisto is there to connect all the project teams through all of the stages of an asset lifecycle, pretty much, and connect the teams through both 3D models, non-graphical data and documents that come with those models, and 2D sheets in there. Also allow easy interrogation, reporting, and exchange of information through it. And last but not least, the accessibility is one of the very important things for us in Revisto. So basically, you can access Revisto through your workstations and laptops, but you can also do it on iPads, Android devices, and Windows surfaces. Virtual reality mode is completely available as well, and we also do integrate with a couple of vendors of immersive caves, which is a relatively new immersive technology that's come up in the last few years. And on top of all that, Revisto is built on a Unity gaming engine, so you can also use something like Xbox controller, or even hacking a PlayStation controller and control the models in Revisto that way. Now, when I say we're an integrated collaboration platform, Revisto is basically a cloud platform. All the data of Revisto is in the cloud, and it connects the project teams directly and in real time. We also integrate with a bunch of different file types and softwares to allow for teams to work much more easily and share information easily. So you can see the plugins we have for certain authoring softwares like Revit, MicroStation, Tekla, Inventor, and so on and so forth. We also integrate with photogrammetry, OBJ files, ABX files, and point cloud files as well. So pretty much we created that environment where everyone can come and see all the information they need to see in order to make informed decisions in the future. So having said that, I'm just going to subtly remove myself and, oops, sorry about that. Stop sharing my screen as soon as I can find my Zoom window and transfer it over to Luke.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm the Technical Implementation Director for Australia, New Zealand, and Asia Pacific. And today we're just going to have a look at Revisto as an integrated collaboration platform, how it works. We certainly deal with lots of information on a day-to-day basis, don't we? And it comes to us in lots of different ways. And as Vlad brought out, you know, there's this concept of context switching that really can slow us down. When we're dealing with these different types of information, if we're having to jump from different platforms, you know, one platform to another, each time we do that, there's a dive in productivity and we have to refocus, and it is something that we ultimately want to avoid. So if we have an integrated collaboration platform, we bring everything into one environment where we're spending most of our time reviewing these different types of contextual data. It's really not enough just to have a collection of plugins into different platforms, because authoring tools, they can be quite complicated and they can be quite specialist, can't they? Something like Revit, Navisworks, ArchiCAD, you can spend years trying to master those softwares. So we need something that's much more easy to use, that's going to increase the transparency and democratize the whole process. We want to make the data available to the whole project team and provide value at every stage, not just during production and not just during clash detection workflows and so on. So when we have an integrated collaboration platform like Revisto, we don't even need authoring tools in order to work productively. Revisto, as we can see here, has a 3D workspace where we can navigate around. It has a 2D area where we can store drawings and review drawings. It can integrate with various common data environments in the docs area and the issue tracker, which is really the central port where everything comes together and we collaborate as a team. So Revisto can import and work with BIM data directly from the authoring tools, as Vlad brought out with the image earlier. But what we really want to understand is that it's unlocking a whole heap of value for everybody in the team in an agnostic environment. You know, we're not bound to any particular authoring tool anymore. So how does it work? Well, we're looking at a cloud project, so something that's hosted in the cloud, a model that's federated or merged together, and it's cached locally. So that means that when we bring a model down from Revisto, it's then stored on our machine, and you know, the internet can drop out and we can still continue to work. And this goes for the desktop application here and also the mobile application. We can also direct import various formats such as FBX, OBJ, IFC, reality capture formats without any other tools involved. So Revisto stands alone and is able to bring those formats in, and we can then navigate them. We can also bring in data from other authoring tools like Revit or like Navisworks. We have the export plugin here. We're looking at the Revit one in the screen at the moment. And we can choose to basically update or append models, and we can bring 3D models with various contextual information across, as well as selecting the sheets to bring those across in one export process. This can be automated and scheduled and done in unattended mode, and we can also bring across point clouds from these other tools as well. So what happens next? Well, we then have a model in 3D that we can now navigate, and we can navigate smoothly like a game engine, just through simple keyboard and mouse controls. It literally takes about 5 minutes for me to kind of teach someone how to get around in the 3D model. You can use game controllers, as Vlad mentioned. We can just plug in a VR headset and use it straight out of the box. It's ready to go. And we've got the iPad application, so we've got a touchscreen support with that, and also mobile kind of movement, gyroscopic control as well. So what helpers do we have for getting around the model? Now, just keeping in mind, as an integrated collaboration platform, what we want to do is have a tool that's easy enough to use so that we can detect issues quickly. We want to be able to get around this model, interrogate it, and find those issues. So firstly, we can click on the map view up here in the ribbon. We can quickly zoom around our project and then double click to go inside the model at any point. So that's a really quick way to navigate the model. We have a room list, so we can click on any specific room and it will take us straight to that room space. So we don't have to go kind of hunting around to find ourselves. And anywhere in Revisto, we can also measure. So we've got the ruler tool up the top here. I can click on the ruler and just bring our measurements here on the screen. We have 5 different measurement tools, and we can quickly interrogate the model that way as well, doing things like checks for circulation or regulatory compliance and so on. One thing that's really exciting that I want to show you is that we can also work directly with object properties in Revisto. So keeping in mind, we're not in an authoring tool, we're in a game engine. Anybody can be in here viewing the model in Revisto, and we can select model elements and view all of the object metadata that's coming from our BIM platforms. So in here we can create things called favorite property sets. Because we're bringing data from different platforms, we may want to view it in different ways. So here we're seeing a favorite property set that's related to Revit, and when I select this orange model, which is a steel model, fabrication model, I can switch over to IFC view, and I can kind of view the properties related to the IFC model. So we can set up these different property sets to be able to view what's interesting to us, and we can share those property sets. Everything in Revisto is collaborative. It's not an environment where things are getting locked up and we can't kind of work as a team. Even things like this shared property sets we can share and collaborate on as a team. So using those properties, we can then start to search across the entire data set. So using just one property, I can select it and create a new search. We have a Find Objects panel here. I can find all of those objects that are related to that in the scene, and then we can view them, basically override their visibility. We can override color, transparency, isolate them, and start to build up views and viewpoints that are going to help us to coordinate. So we may do some overrides. We may hide certain objects. As you can see on the right-click menu, we can do all these kind of overrides as well. And with every interaction that we're taking, Revisto is remembering all those modifications to the view. We can step backwards through those. We can undo our view changes. And we can also save those view states into viewpoints. So here we have some viewpoints set up, basically for different purposes, different ways we want to review the project. Maybe I want to look at just my construction equipment and how that is working. So we've saved some search sets for that as well. I can select all my construction equipment, isolate it. I could override its color, and basically help me to really focus and zoom in on particular parts of the project that are interesting. We could set up location viewpoints. So maybe I want to look at what the project looks like from the top of a tower crane. So now I'm looking down and kind of simulating maybe some of the construction work that I'm going to do right from that viewpoint on the tower crane. Perhaps I want to go inside the building and start reviewing certain parts like this, this elevated walkway, reviewing the multidiscipline services here. And so I can just quickly navigate to that point, and I could use the walk mode, which has gravity and collisions and so on enabled, and do it that way. We can also set up coordination views. Now these viewpoints, we've used our search functions and overridden the colors, and we're now looking at basically a multidiscipline view where we can see the steel model and various services models merged together and kind of isolated. And really it's making it very clear to us where there are problems. And this is really the whole point in the integrated collaboration platform. Make it simple, make it easy to detect issues, and then we can raise those issues up in the issue tracker. So let's say we found an issue. What's the next step? Well, basically, we're then straight away going to click the Create Issue button here. So at the top here, we'll click that, and we'll drop our issue pin there on the item, and we can start marking up that issue. We have various markup tools, and we could give the issue a title, maybe Clash, and hit Done, and it will now put us into the issue tracker. So issues can be raised like that from any environment. We could be inside of Navisworks looking at the same data set, and we could basically navigate to a point in Navisworks and raise our issues straight away from inside the platform here. So we can click our new issue button. I've added mine to the quick launch bar here. It takes the snapshot from Navisworks, and we can again start marking up. And the issues are going to be combined into the one issue list in Revisto. We can also create issues with a tool that we call the stamp, which is really an issue template. And when we think about managing issues, this is really a key part, which is on your projects, certain types of issues are going to come up over and over again. And what we do in Revisto is we create a stamp for those issues. So looking at my stamp list here, we have various different types of typical issues that may occur. These ones are broken up by discipline, and we're looking at maybe some plumbing items here, maybe there's a problem. So we can just simply grab the plumbing problem or modeling problem stamp and drop that on those items, and we've created the issue there with one click. We can then add photos to it, we can add a markup to it. But we can also link elements through to those issues. So see this element that's sticking out of the building here? I can select it, go and grab the relevant stamp for that item and drop it on the item. And now that element is actually linked to the issue. So if we glance at the issue tracker quickly, that object there is linked up with that issue. And if I navigated away from it, I could kind of click back to that object, which will bring me back into that location. And this will basically work in all of the authoring tools as well. We can select any of these issues and it will take us to the correct 3D location inside of that authoring tool, and we can then work from there, basically, make the change, cut this pipe back, and solve the issue. Because we're touching all of this element data, we can also use data techniques to find issues. What do I mean by that? Well, in some projects, you may have certain BIM management rules, maybe some objects should only exist on certain layers or certain work sets. So here I've got a search set, and it goes and looks through those object properties and looks for a non-compliance. So these are cable trays on the wrong work set. What I'm going to do is select those objects, and then I'm straight away going to right-click, isolate, and zoom to those objects. So I can see those objects have been selected straight away. If I want some more data about that selection, I could open up my selection inspector, and we see all of the object properties as per our favorites that we set earlier listed out here. And in fact, we can export this information out. So we can export object property data out that could be used for commissioning or quantification or some other purpose. Now we're looking at this particular non-compliance. What I'm going to do is straight away go to my stamp list. This is an error, and I'm going to drop that stamp on those objects and create an issue that's related to that. Basically a non-compliance that we've discovered because we have access to all of the object data. Let's consider now what we can do with these issues in the issue tracker. So we're selecting the issue tracker. We might see initially just a list of issues and a snapshot of that issue. So as we click through, we're seeing the various markup views, and we can actually edit the markup. So perhaps we want to add some information here. We can simply click Edit Markup and draw some extra things onto that markup. Now in Revisto, on the far left, you can see there's a 3D button. Clicking on that will put me back into the model on top of that issue. And I can select any issue, and it's going to zoom me directly to that location in the model, and it's going to load up the view state of that issue as it was when I created it. Now, not only that, we can click on 2D, and it's going to take us onto a drawing and show us where that issue exists on a drawing. Now, we haven't had to do anything fancy to make this happen. When we exported our sheets from Revit, it picked up its element locations and so on. And so Revisto understands the 3D and the 2D locations of all issues, and we can see how that integrated collaboration platform is really coming into play here. We can jump between all the different contexts of an issue through these different views on the left-hand side. And we can go to other drawings and basically check, multidiscipline-wise, what's going on at that location for that particular issue. So how do we actually manage our issues? Well, one of the most important things on any issue is the assignee. And Revisto works off the idea of personal accountability. Each issue is assigned to an individual. Inside the system, we do understand that that individual is part of a company and we can report accordingly. But basically, we make sure that our issues are assigned correctly, and then they proceed through a change in status. So this particular issue, it starts as an open issue. It will get set to in progress when somebody is working on it. That person will basically select this issue or take them to the correct location in the authoring tool. They might make their changes and mark the issue as solved. And this is a permission to jump from solved to closed. A design manager or coordinator will close that issue out. From a personal perspective, we can click on My Open Issues and see all the issues that are assigned to me. And again, from an issue management principle point of view, there's only two outcomes for this issue. Either I'm going to work on it and I'm going to solve it, or I'm going to look at an issue, realize that it should be assigned to someone else or should be escalated, and I'm going to straight away reassign that issue onto somebody else. Another important factor to consider with issue management in general is prioritization. So within Revisto, we have hard-coded priorities, and we want to make sure that we set the correct priority on issues. And that's going to be related to our project program. It's going to be related to the disciplines involved. It's going to be related to, what's coming up next on the project. Where are we up to on site? So when we prioritize our issues, we can then filter and sort them accordingly to make sure that we're focused on the most important things. So how do we do that in Revisto? Basically, we create a custom filter. So to begin with, I'm going to go by status, any issue that's open or in progress, and by priority, any issue that's a blocker, critical, or major. So I've now filtered my 40 or 50 issues down to the 19 most important items on my project. I'm going to save that as a filter here, open major issues, and we're going to share that with the team. Again, this is another collaborative aspect. We can create custom filters and share those amongst the team to be able to filter through the issue list. We can also attach metadata onto these issues through the use of tags, and that will be useful for reporting later on. So we make sure we set perhaps a discipline tag or an issue type tag there to be able to create our dashboards and reports. So as we looked at earlier, we can jump into the 2D workspace and look at the drawings, and we'll do that very shortly. There are a few issues here that were actually clashes that have been synchronized across from Navisworks. And inside Revisto, we can basically view those clashes in various different ways. We can view them as kind of transparent. We can view them with a section plane applied or not. And we can view them isolated or in like the context of the whole project. So we can synchronize those clashes across and then do all of our issue management right here in Revisto in the integrated collaboration platform. Inside the 2D drawing space, we can view drawings as we've talked about. We can mark up on top of the drawing, so we can use Revisto to replace 2D markup workflows. We can just do plain markup straight on the sheet. We can drop stamps on the sheet as well, and then we can export from the drawing sheet straight into PDF with all the markups showing. On the drawing, we can also measure, and this will be a calibrated measurement based on the BIM scale of the drawing, and we can create multiple dimensions, and it's snapping to the vector lines on the PDF as well. Finally, with any drawing that we've brought in that's spatially aware, we can take that drawing and overlay it directly onto the model, and it will be overlaid in the correct position. Then we can now do 2D to 3D overlay checking, where we can basically review if the model matches the drawings or not. So this is a really powerful checking tool. As we know, some people model too much or too little, and this allows us to do the quick checks between the 2D drawing and the 3D model, the federated 3D model. In addition to all of this, we have our live dashboarding tools. As I mentioned earlier, within the website, we could create dashboards that show issues by assignee and even broken up by company here at the project level. And these dashboards can become quite advanced. We're looking at a much larger project, a real live project here. And we can see, you know, the thousands of issues that have been closed out. We can see which individuals have been most active. And we can even view a discipline versus discipline trend. Which disciplines have been performing best, you know, over the last few weeks or months on that project. We can see a status flow between two dates and set up these dashboards once, and then they're really a useful tool for our managers and leaders on the project. We can also create automated reports that get sent out that filter the issues and send them out to specific project stakeholders. We set those once, and again, the system just will generate those reports and send them out for us. So all of the functionality that we've shown you can essentially be taken out on site as well. We have a native mobile application that can run in offline mode, doesn't require, you know, a web connection. We can use that to take photos of defects out on site, creating as-built kind of model checks and defects management. And we could also use Revisto for an FM handover package. The actual Revisto project can be exported out to an exe. That's a standalone executable. It doesn't require any installation at all. And we can hand that off. It can include all the 3D model, the drawings, and the issues as well in that. We can export all of our issue data at any time, and we can automate this export into an Excel format that we can connect up with other systems. We can export the PDF, as we mentioned, with the markups. We're even seeing a hotspot view here of the issues, and we can change how those are clustered on the 2D drawing as well. Finally, for OpenBIM workflows, we can export the federated project to IFC and then use that in other downstream kind of workflows as well. So really appreciate your time in having a look at this live demonstration of Revisto, the functionality that we have there in the integrated collaboration platform to view the model, the drawings, raise issues, and manage the data is really a powerful thing that can really benefit your team. So thank you for listening.